So, I am going to assume everyone's seen Infinity War by now. It's been 2 months, the next movie's in 2 weeks. It's about Ant-Man. Are you hype? Better question might be, were you hyped the first time Ant-Man followed a big Avengers movie? Think back. Compare, in fact. While you're doing that, think back and compare how you're feeling about Avengers 3 to how you felt about Avengers 1 at the time. What do you feel? Satisfaction, longing, closure, craving? How about when this guy showed up for the first time? I've seen a lot of discourse over the past few years to the effect of, I'm gone out of Phase 3, I just want the payoff. There's no way they can keep me invested out of Thanos, as long as my neck is getting bigger. I'm a bit skeptical. The ride never ends. See, Marvel mastered marketing way back in the 1960s. It's kind of the foundation of their entire brand. It runs through everything. The characters, the stories, the world, the tone, the whole Marvel method is one big well-oiled Rube Goldberg machine. A Connect set, as opposed to DC's Crystal Kits, Play-Doh collection, Sea Monkey Aquarium, whatever. Point being, their first superhero was a literal manufactured man, their god artist who built everything was fascinated by machine designs, they're fundamentally mechanical. In a good way. Everything's perfectly placed and positioned to best complement everything else. On a side note, this is why DC's movies are sort of floundering. As an infrastructure, they're very organic, lots of complexities and mutations. Yet, the movies have been trying to copy the Marvel way. It doesn't work. What did work out for DC was what they tried in the 90s, with the cartoons. Compare Batman the Animated Series by Bruce Timm to the Spider-Man Animated Series by Fox Kids. Batman's better. Hands down. Everyone knows that. I'll admit that. It was creatively focused, character-intensive, director-driven, with lots of smart writing and novel techniques and masterful execution. But it doesn't have the surrounding worlds that Spider-Man did, with Hulk and X-Men and Fantastic Four and Iron Man and Silver Surfer. Marvel's creatively adaptable, setting-intensive, producer-driven approach meant you could slot in any character anywhere at any time. Batman couldn't do that. The show's whole aesthetic was built to reflect him. Whenever DC ordered a spin-off, Bruce Timm would have to go back to the drawing board and redesign everything to accommodate less gloomy, more flamboyant, non-Batman characters. Because he knew that Batman's tone didn't fit Superman. Even so, it stayed pretty conservative. When the Justice League cartoon came along, you were meeting all these guys for the first time. Sound familiar? As a kid, I preferred the Marvel cartoons because, yeah, they were lower quality, but they felt like pieces of a bigger picture. Inspired that sense of wonder and potential. Because Marvel applied what they'd been doing in the comics since the 1960s. Crossovers, continuity, collector mindsets. As they have continued to do for the MCU to great success. They've mastered this. Case in point, Thanos. I've really been looking forward to his interim movies just as much as the actual movies, for a year or two, because I have a good idea what they're going to do with them. You know, why put them there? Why distract from the Thanos story? Simple. They're not going to distract from the Thanos story. They're going to add to it. The threat of Thanos, like a lot of things of Thanos, is twofold. You've got the person, then you've got the power. The madman and the means, the will and the way. You can't shove all the necessary exposition into one movie without it toppling over, maybe not even two. That's why the MCU model exists. Avengers 1 didn't need to explain Tesseracts or Asgardians or Hulks, so it just got straight to the fun stuff. Seeing the firework being made and seeing the firework being used are mutually exclusive. You can choose either, you can choose both. Playing the field. Perfect balance. Thanos is historically tied to the Captain Marvel franchise. The original Captain Marvel's comic gave him his first big storyline, fleshed out his home planet, gave him a family, explored his philosophy, springboarded all of his lore. Since the Captain Marvel movie, spoilers, is set 20 years ago, features the original guy, brings back Thanos' flunkies from Guardians of the Galaxy, there's a damn good chance it'll depict Thanos' origins a bit. address his motives, maybe even show Titan's fall, maybe show how it didn't happen quite like he said it did. Then, of course, you've got the Infinity Stones. How do you neutralize them? The power of a god? Well, maybe by talking to the literal gods that created the damn things. The abstract concepts given form. Eternity, entropy, death, and infinity. But how do you do that? The funny thing about that last one, she represents all of space. In the comics, she exists just out of sync with the universe, in an equally vast pocket dimension full of weird eldritch energies, called the Quantum Zone. Close enough. Did I mention that Ant-Man comics actually deal a fair bit with the cosmic abstracts? There's this whole metaphysical lore thing about the microverse underspace and the macroverse overspace, which in some depictions form a circuit loop from a certain point of view. Shrink down small enough and you could end up back at the top, in the god's waiting room by the water cooler. They've had the name drops, they have the motivation, and given Ant-Man and Wasp's plot, and how it revolves around the quantum realm, they'll soon have superheroes on their doorstep. Agents to do their bidding, perhaps. Are you hyped now? Doesn't matter. All this is preface. Remember my second question? How you felt when Avengers 1 ended? Specifically when this guy showed up for the first time. I felt like, wow, that was fun, I'm satisfied, all my investment has paid off, watching all these movies was worth it, guess I'll move on to something else now. Oh, it's only just starting. It's ironic that I brought up loops and duality before because Thanos typifies it. He's a bookend. Both bookends. To go back to the idea of connections and structures, Marvel's setting has this really swell hierarchy going on. Again, different to DC, which is more about growing families out of certain popular characters, which, is great if you like Batman and Superman and want more, but to obsessives like me, who just wanted to know as much about Martian Manhunt as we did about Batman, it felt kind of lacking. Anyway, that's just me. In Marvel, there are tiers that stack and overlap. First, there's street level, the kind of gritty, down-to-earth, no problem too small, no victim too insignificant stories, with Daredevil, Luke Cage, etc. And then you got guys like Spider-Man, who are fundamentally street level, but so colourful and powerful and popular that they get put against proper supervillains and treated like heavy hitters by the marketing. Guys who should be defending the world alongside other Earth-level superheroes like Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, the Avengers, the X-Men, S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of. But then you get guys who are too powerful or too ambitious to be limited to Earth, like the Mighty Thor or Marvel's original trendsetters, the Fantastic Four. They end up straddling the line between Earth and space, the cosmic level, the universe, the realm of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Silver Surfer, most Captain Marvels, etc. The MCU started at world level. They later retrofitted in street level for the Netflix shows, lower budgets, greater narrative depth, more personal, long-form stories. But whatever, movies need to be blockbusters. Short, sweet, CGI'd out the arse. Not too weird, you'll scare away the normal audience, whatever. Point being, they've expanded, slowly but surely. Much like how Vulture or Kingpin can trickle down through the gaps in the Avengers firewall, with Avengers tier tech and money, Marvel has planted the seed of an idea that people on the cosmic stage can trickle down to cause problems on Earth. We saw it in Phase 1 with Thor. An alien family feud trickles over to New Mexico, and ends with Loki leveling a small town like a playground fight trampling an anthill. 2 movies later, Loki directly assaults Earth with his army of bugaboos from beyond the stars. Imagine if the suit drones from Iron Man 3 were sicked on the Defenders. It's the same sort of idea. Then Big Guy for You shows up, and we realise this was all a first strike. Then Thor 2 expands on the universe setting, Guardians of the Galaxy goes whole hog on a cosmic level story, Avengers 2 introduces another extraterrestrial enemy, since Ultron's made out of a stone. You get the picture. Now with Ragnarok, Guardians 2, and Infinity War all in the rearview mirror, it's safe to say the seed flourished. Despite all the arguments that it'd be too weird, through gradual planning and saintly patience, audiences get cosmic level Marvel. Except, there's one more level above it. One even stranger. I'm not sorry. Again, it comes back to Ant-Man. At the very end of Phase 2, when Cosmic was now a comfortable concept for audiences, Marvel snuck 30 seconds of weirdness under the radar onto the back end of their least anticipated release. Something, seemingly, in the opposite direction, but, as we've established, beyond Cosmic at the same time. The mystic level. Alternate dimensions, arcane magics, the supernatural, defined by physical laws above and beyond this one specific universe. Arguably, there aren't any true mystic heroes, because the mystic characters are incomprehensible, omnipotent god beings like Dormammu and, technically, the Marvel Universe's own cosmic abstracts. Technically, because they're specific to the one universe. Looking down at the cosmic level, like Asgardians looking down at the Earth level. But there's no shortage of straddlers punching up, like Spider-Man or the Fantastic Four. Insofar, we've already gotten Ant-Man, Thanos, or whoever wields his Infinity Gauntlet, Ghost Rider, if you count that as canon, and Doctor Strange. Some movie industry scuttlebutt. Kevin Feige is the executive producer and ultimate architect of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he's said a lot of very juicy things. We've got movies planned out until 2028. We're constantly trying to keep things fresh. We'll rotate the cast of characters eventually. Most pertinently to here and now, Doctor Strange is my husbando, and I want him to be the next Iron Man. This guy, this perfect tour guide to all the stuff bigger and bolder than Thanos himself, is heir apparent to the MCU's face of the franchise throne. Just look at Strange in Infinity War. He holds his own against 4 gems. Thanos has to threaten the other characters in order to beat him. If you even count it as beat. After all, he's the only guy there who can see the 12th dimensional chessboard and the long-term checkmate. Whatever karmic domino effect sets things right in the end is going to hinge upon what Doctor Strange has already done to set it up. I have a hunch on what that is, but if I'm right, it's a pretty cool surprise. Maybe another time. It took 8 years and 3 phases to get there, but wacky multiversal concepts are now totally understandable to audiences and are about to become the new normal. Look no further than Mordo, who already has all the trimmings of the next Loki. Why does he turn to the dark side? Because Strange doesn't get it. He's toying with powers he, and by proxy us the audience, doesn't truly understand yet. If he swings around a time stone breaking the laws of causality willy-nilly, something out there will notice. So what do you think is going to happen now that some wrinkly more nonce is swinging around 6, breaking multiple laws? Constantly. Mirroring how he opened our horizons to the cosmic 6 years ago, Thanos will give way to something that will open our horizons to the mystic. That's not to say things will all be magic, any more than things have all been cosmic. We still got Civil War, Homecoming, Wakanda, and the implications aside, the next 2 movies look mostly Earth-based. There's this great little thing called a Freudian trio that you can fit into just about any triple act. The superego, the ego, the id. The smart, aloof, calculating one, the friendly, level-headed, agreeable one, and the strong, brash, hot-headed one. Tony, Cap, and Thor were those, respectively. Sure, they could pass the mantles on, but we've already had 3 trilogies. We've already seen those ideas given movies. Surely they'll become supporting characters, whoever takes up from them, like Black Widow or Scarlet Witch. Strange, Chala, and Carol, women-strong, patriarchy-crushing, Yas Queen Danvers, all fill those roles too. What's more, they fit different hierarchical niches. Chala's the Earth-based humanist, Carol's the cosmic peacekeeper, Strange is the mystic chronicler. We've even got your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man to rep the streets on the big screen. That's why I'm skeptical. There's no clear cut-off. The relay will keep going. The story will continue without missing a beat. You are already invested in whatever comes out of Thanos without even realizing it. Because Marvel has made you invested in the characters who will fight it, the logic that will define it, and the history that will contextualize it. The system works pretty damn well. But come Phase 4's big climax movie, it's not going to be Earth's mightiest heroes fighting a threat from space. It's going to be the whole universe's top guns against something from outside of space-time. What if Thanos is right? and undoing his life's work will unbalance the cosmic scales, letting in Annihilus as a countermeasure, or the Cancerverse as an invite. There's some Guardians 3 and Strange 3 ideas for you. Personally, I'm thinking Kang for the next Avengers movie, post-Gauntlet. He's their archenemy in the comics, he can do lots of fun, retrospective, fourth wall-breaking stuff with the old footage, he'll be back in their control from Fox by then, and since the Time Stone's been used so consistently, putting strain on the metaphysics that surround the universe, you could argue that his hobbies become a lot easier. You could do similar stuff with the Sentry movie. Really psychological, artistic, highbrow stuff that had shown Nolan and Snyder how to do it right. But you'd have to make it a one-and-done standalone movie if you're going to do it at all, and that doesn't gel well with Marvel's method of marketing. And then there's the First Family, the Future Foundation, the Friend Force. Long story short, they're the super team, the measuring stick, the big brother everyone else looks up to for advice. Debuting them now as rookies loses a lot of their luster. So, true to the tone of their own stories, why not have them crash through into the MCU from a parallel universe? One where they're experienced and established and truly the world's greatest superhero MAGA team. And as seasoned multiversal adventurers, they can still act in that classic role as the in-the-know, experienced advice givers to look up to. Imagine if The Crash is Homecoming 2's post-credits scene, and one of Phase 4's first movies is a comprehensive biopic, spanning from accident to accident, depicting events and adventures from all sorts of imaginative sources, like a wacky action sci-fi Forrest Gump? Giving that first Fan-4 draft, Feige. And maybe Namor comes with them and gets into a spat with T'Challa, since he's in the same boat as Hulk legally. Maybe breaking through the weakened barriers between worlds has something to do with a fight against Doom, and his multiversal meta-plots becoming Phase 4 and 5's driving force? Hell, if the original Avengers disappear and the government wants a superhero team on call, they could commission General Ross for a Thunderbolts movie, with Zemo and Vulture and Abomination and Jean-Pierre. All these ideas are filler, though. Kang would be the next Ultron, Sentry would be the next Incredible Hulk, the FF would be the next Guardians of the Galaxy, all building on one another to something ultimately climactic. Plot threads, chipping away time and space and reality on the way to the next Thanos. Here's a pitch for the Phase 3 post-credit scene that I've had knocking around my head for the past few years. The day's been saved, the damage has been undone, the threat's been neutralized, we see whatever floating party game platform in space the reality rupturing final battle took place on, still and tranquil. We pan up, the starry sky, the cosmos in all its luminous splendor. Only one star doesn't look quite right. It's different. Unreal. The view circles around and we can see why. It's not a far-off celestial body at all. We were looking head-on at a beam of light that's emanating from right there, above the arena. Just hanging, sourceless, like a pinprick has been poked in reality itself. And then it moves. Up, down, side to side, like a line of sight. Like something's looking, searching, taking it all in. Something from beyond. Anybody read Secret Wars? Either one, honestly, I'm referring to both. If not, it's like Smash Bros. Big kid playing with toys, except the kid's an omnipotent existential horror that permits reality to exist and the toys are everything else. Well, in the story at least. In real life, it was Marvel's ultimate marketing ploy. Literally, an ad campaign to shill action figures in the excess of the 80s. Hey kids, look at these awesome super fights. Now you can act them out scene for scene. You can be your own Azathoth. Only the comic became the big hit, starting a trend that comics have been continuing ever since. Infinity War, Civil War, Secret Invasion, Secret Empire, the entire crossover event business model that itself informed the Avengers movie idea traces back to the sleeper success of a glorified toy commercial. Capitalism, pretty swell. I find it kind of interesting that they did the second one when they did, how they did, in the way that they did. Just as everyone had become resigned to the belief that Marvel Comics was now a glorified IP farm for the movie division. there are lots of little details I find especially interesting. The way it built up from several catastrophic, causality-shattering events. The way it abandons the recognizable Avengers to focus on certain lesser-known ones. The way it upgraded the original's planet patchwork sandbox into a multiverse patchwork sandbox. The way Doom was the consistent heart of both? Okay, that's still completely wishful thinking. Bloody Comcast. So, Fibonacci time. One phase of 5 movies on the Earth level culminates in a grand one-part celebration that breaches into the cosmic. 3 phases of 18 movies on the cosmic level culminates in a grand 4-part celebration that breaches into the mystic. 5 phases of, say, 40 movies on the mystic level would hypothetically culminate in a grand 7-8-part extravaganza. And what fun you could have with that. Especially with Sony's cooperation and Fox's footage and all the IP rights Marvel Studios has bought back since they started in 2008. AVX, featuring the long-awaited returns of Robert Downey Jr. and Hugh Jackman, face-to-face and fist-to-fist. Spider-Verse, for all the people who ever wanted to know what happened to Tobey Maguire, and whoever cared about Andrew Garfield. Sorry. Fantastic 4x4, if only to give the poor sods from those first 3 casts the chance to be in an actual, proper Fantastic Four movie. Hearts of Darkness, starring Nicolas Cage, Wesley Snipes, and Dolph Lundgren. Ben Affleck, Born Again, since we now know he's a master of making people feel bad for him. Deadpool. Just Deadpool. I ain't even gonna try. Even Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe sounds trite given the possibilities. Maybe they use the Easter egg from Deadpool 2 about M-Day coming. You have Scarlet Witches from both universes go insane at the same time, which makes the reality bridge happen. I don't know. In 2028, Marvel tops itself again, throws a congratulatory party bigger than anyone could have ever conceived, and drops the myth. A party that celebrates superhero movies themselves, their takeover of Hollywood, and all the people who made it possible in Marvel's own hour of dire financial need. Blade, Spider-Man, and the X-Men restarted the groundswell of the genre that Marvel Studios springboarded off of, and it was Marvel that created and sold those character rights. Now, they're reaping what they sowed to monumental success, sharing their stories their way with an altogether wider audience on an altogether vaster, grander medium. An Ouroboros, a Rube Goldberg machine, a self-perpetuating cycle, shrinking until they pop back in at the top. Here's the climax, people. Because of course the question is then, what next? How can they top that? Does the MCU just end? Kind of, actually. In the same way you close the book on something to start on something greater. Because once you've fully familiarized audiences with the concept of a sprawling multiverse, you've gone the opposite direction. You've gone so big that you've sprouted back up at the bottom. Every movie studio has a multiverse. The difference is that they don't take advantage of it. Comics do. So, say you still have fans who want to keep following the original continuity from 2008 into year 21 and beyond. Okay, new batch of heroes, new younger actors, new, probably smaller scale, adventures. The torch is passed for Phase 6, just like it will be for Phase 4. So you have fans that want more Iron Man already, since he's been gone about 10 years. Okay, new Iron Man movie, new universe, new continuity, starting fresh with a different take. Maybe even limit it to just Iron Man as the only hero in this universe, forever oblivious to parallel worlds. So you have fans that want an R-rated epic fantasy Thor, or an all-female Avengers, or a contemporary comedy about Louise. Okay, have one each. We'll budget them accordingly and see how they do at the box office. People who want the Secret Wars high-concept stuff to keep going can get a universe-hopping team like Exiles of Excalibur. People who are sick of capes can get Wells-based sci-fi like Killraven, or Scots-ish fantasy like Weird World. People who have never seen a Marvel movie, and never intend to out of sheer demographical disinterest, can get any genre they want. Romance, drama, horror, disaster, war, all unique and self-contained. Or as unique and self-contained as the consumer-based desires and demands. Do a Millie the Model rom-com, completely bereft of anything superhuman. Only the bulky, blue-eyed, blonde British bloke in that one scene with the crumpets is also the actor for Captain Britain, who in his own movie either references stopping by that universe as a throwaway gag, or does the scene from his own perspective as a plot point. All one audience needs or cares to know is in the one movie they're watching. You could sprinkle undercover Captain Britain cameos in the background of any and every movie, just for fun, or as a cheeky meta-narrative that only matters to his one specific movie. And these are relatively basic ideas. For goodness sake, what if Marvel used the Secret Wars movies as a test kitchen, burning through crazy ideas that nobody even thought to ask for? Any concepts audiences react to especially positively can be considered for their own self-contained films in their own realities, informing the starting slate for Phase Infinity. Up until, well, I saw the damn movie, I was convinced Avengers 4 was being renamed to simply Marvel's The Infinity Gauntlet. Because from here on out, Avengers, with its Earth-based connotations, is too small a word for the big end-of-phase slobberknockers. I could see the Avengers becoming another mid-phase franchise like Guardians of the Galaxy. Maybe that would be the Thunderbolts movie, the remaining supporting heroes versus Ross and Zemo's state-controlled usurpers. Whether or not that happens after all, given it is just the Avengers left to save the day, plus one raccoon, the logic follows through. As a setting, this Earth could keep churning out movies, but as a scripter, a brand, it's obsolete. The Marvel Cinematic Universe would essentially end. Just one small part of the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. Marvel Studios becomes a fully realized studio with a versatile horde of source material. Also make me a Miracle Man movie, you daft cunt.